What if the key to becoming a truly great leader isn't about having all the answers, but about having the courage to be vulnerable? Today, we're exploring 3 powerful stories that reveal how vulnerability, trust, and overcoming shame can transform not just our leadership, but our entire approach to professional relationships. Our first story introduces us to Lisa, a CEO who always believed that leaders should have all the answers. But in a critical board meeting, she faced a moment that would challenge everything she thought she knew about leadership. The company was at risk of losing a major client, and everyone looked to Lisa for a solution. The pressure mounted as she realized she didn't have an immediate answer. In that moment, Lisa made a choice that would redefine her leadership. She took a deep breath and said, "I don't have all the answers right now, but I know we can figure this out together." That single moment of vulnerability shifted the entire atmosphere in the room. Lisa's honesty invited others to step forward, offer ideas, and engage in a more collaborative way. By showing vulnerability, Lisa demonstrated true courage, which ultimately strengthened her leadership. As the author notes, vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up when you can't control the outcome. Lisa's story teaches us that admitting uncertainty can create space for others to contribute their strengths. For leaders, embracing vulnerability doesn't mean weakness. It opens doors to trust and innovation. Our second story takes us to a tech startup where David, a project manager, was known for his decisive leadership. But something wasn't quite right. His team had grown distant and disengaged. After several failed attempts to boost morale, David received a hard truth from a trusted colleague. His team didn't feel heard. They felt like cogs in a machine, rather than valued contributors. This revelation stung, but David knew it was time to act. Instead of defending himself, he chose to listen. Over the next few weeks, David made it a priority to ask for feedback during team meetings and, more importantly, to act on it. The turning point came when a junior developer hesitantly offered an idea during a brainstorming session. Instead of brushing it aside, David asked follow-up questions, encouraging the developer to explain more. The team noticed this shift immediately. Slowly, they began to open up, sharing their insights and ideas more freely. As a result, the team's performance soared. David learned that trust is not built in grand gestures, but in small moments of connection. As the author points out, trust is like a jar that fills up one marble at a time. The key takeaway is that leaders build trust through consistent, genuine empathy, and by creating an environment where people feel heard. Trust grows when leaders listen more than they speak, fostering confidence and deeper connections within the team. Our final story introduces us to Sarah, a senior executive grappling with a sense of inadequacy. Despite her many accomplishments, she constantly compared herself to others, feeling she wasn't enough. This self-doubt intensified after a failed product launch where her team missed key deadlines. Sarah felt she had let everyone down and began retreating, avoiding tough conversations with her team. During a team meeting, Sarah noticed the heavy silence and averted gazes. She realized that her own shame was infecting the team, and the fear of failure had paralyzed everyone. In that moment, Sarah chose courage over comfort. She said, "I've been feeling like I've failed you, but I know avoiding this conversation isn't helping us move forward. Let's talk about what went wrong and how we can learn from it together." Her vulnerability in admitting her own struggle with shame opened the door for the team to do the same. They had a candid discussion about the project's failures and what they could do better next time. The lesson Sarah learned and shared with her team was that shame thrives in silence. By acknowledging it, they were able to create a culture of resilience rather than one defined by fear of failure. As the author says, shame is the most powerful master emotion. It's the fear that we're not good enough. But when leaders address it openly, it loses its power. These stories of Lisa, David, and Sarah show us that vulnerability, trust, and overcoming shame are all interconnected. One leads to the other, creating a cycle of courage and growth. When leaders embrace these challenges, they set a powerful example for their teams, showing that true leadership is about being brave enough to be imperfect. Remember, as the author beautifully puts it, courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen.